Hello, everyone. I will be your host for today's podcast with the topic of music. The noise produced by a good song and the enjoyment brought forth by that tune is a universal experience. It is statistically implausible that you, the listener, do not know about music. Even Beethoven could enjoy music, and he was deaf. I've always been interested in music, the style of different musicians, what genres of music sound the best, and how to make music are the questions I have been seeking answers for since forever. To begin, what or rather who got me interested in music? My mother claims that when she was pregnant with me, she would play classical music. Apparently classical music was prescribed as some sort of intelligence formula back in the day, though I am unsure if her playing Mozart was the real progenitor of my musical fascination. The next stage in my musical influence was pop music, played on every radio station back in the day. I know for a little while bands like Imagine Dragons were big, although that was not quite the spark which inspired me. Later, around the spring of 2014, I found the musician who took my interest in music to the next level. I was randomly searching up music on YouTube when I saw an edgy black star balloon in the thumbnail of a video, and on a whim, I clicked. And behold, it was Celldweller. Celldweller is known for his sci-fi space odyssey type music, with expansive lore about distant planets and plot lines equivalent to Star Wars. The full story is crafted between several bands, most of which are just Clayton himself under a different band name, which leads to the ever-amusing coincidence of Celldweller remixing himself. Celldweller, who is Clayton, also interacts with his fans through remix competitions, embracing the growth of new musicians by allowing them to take apart his songs to create new ones. I remember seeing the list of all 435 remixes, with 45 of them being remixes of just one song, and I felt amazed by the passion of these musicians in making these remixes. For a while, I coasted by simply listening to all this spectacular music as I went about my daily life, until I found a particular playlist on Celldweller's channel labeled Studio Sessions. Videos and videos worth of information regarding music creation, everything from guitars to synths, explained in glorious detail in a way that was easily understood. It was about the 10th video that I had finally unlocked my desire to make music, but then arose the question of how. I did not have all that fancy equipment like what Clayton had in his office. I don't have walls of synths or rooms full of instruments, nor do I think I could afford any of them. The only instrument I had was an old guitar I got at a toy store years ago, which was not tuned properly and probably had spiders in it. So, I sat with a simmering desire to make music, but without the means to actually create it. In the absence of music, I was creative in different ways, through writing and artworks, making my own stories like Celldweller had. One day, my friend started a Minecraft realm, and I was invited, so I joined. The realm had cheats activated, so we all messed with blocks and built massive structures. It was near the decline of the realm that I discovered note blocks, a block in Minecraft which makes different noises depending on the block beneath it and the amount it is poked. I vividly remember trying to reproduce the sounds of a Rain World tune under a dancing scarecrow, which strangely turned out pretty decent, though nothing like the original Ost. The music I am referring to can be found on my channel as Dance of the Pumpkins. With this unfathomable technique uncovered from the ruins of a fallen realm, I got to work in my own creative world, working with note blocks to my heart's content. My first few tunes were failures. I had no direction and no practice with this art, but I persevered anyways. I pushed onward until I developed an expertise, a usable method of music creation. The process works much like building a ritualistic structure, a linear path of the bass tune's block covered in a pattern of redstone repeaters, a form of circuitry, and then crowning the top with the actual note blocks. I found using either stone, clay, or dirt works best as the baseline tune, especially with an easily replicable pattern of notes. My favorite motif is 1, 2, 4, 2, which is how many pokes it takes for each block to make a certain noise. I have inserted this motif into numerous of my tunes. while there is a limit on what instruments can be produced within the game. The range of Minecraft blocks, however, includes bass, snare drums, clicks, kick drum, bells, flutes, chimes, guitar, xylophone, vibraphone, cowbell, didgeridoo, square wave 8-bit, banjo, electric piano, and harp noises. These instruments cover enough ground to make Minecraft a usable medium for music production. Moving on to what music I have actually produced. The first time I actively worked to make a tune was for a project. My friends had been writing the silly story known as Pete's All the Eggy, a tale about a cursed person named Pete's and their mutant family described in grotesque detail. It was a weird story, but something about a family striving to be a family struck a chord with me, and so I asked if I could turn their story into an animation. I created the animated series Pete's All the Eggy last year with nothing more than my friends' audio recordings of the script, Paint.net, and Minecraft note blocks. It was the wildest thing I had ever done, but when it came to the music, I knew it had to be special. I worked day and night that summer to concoct an original soundtrack worthy of the Peach universe. While some of my better tunes created during that time remain unused, I am reasonably proud of the project overall and felt empowered to do something else. On my own, and sometime later, I started another animation project I refer to as Squash Moth. The series covers the adventure of a squash-headed moth creature and her escape from the shadow monster. This project was mine alone, and I made it a lot lighter than the heavier subjects Pete's All the Eggy revolved around, which meant the music was going to be a lot lighter too. I believe this is where my motif of 1-2-4-2 originated from, and my initial steps into using other note block instruments. Also around that time, I had stolen my cousin's rainstick, and my friend gifted me a harmonica. I used all the instruments at my disposal to craft an oast worthy of a yellow stick figure running down empty hallways, which honestly turned out pretty well, no matter how odd the actual animation was. The third video in my 4-part series was so popular it nearly dwarfed my most popular video, Fish Go Spin, and I think that's because I made the music and messed with a bunch of audio effects to make it sound really cool. Where has this journey led me, you may ask? I'd say all my musical prowess has gotten me to a reasonably good point, even sporting an actual quality tune, my magnum opus. I call this one God's Neon Yeehaw Sunset. It's a goofy title for sure. I'm not good with names, but I like the patterned rhythm, the motifs, and its composition. This is my longest tune at an outstanding length of 2,403 blocks, reaching nearly 4 minutes in length. Do you have any idea how much time I spent making this? I don't. I lost track, but it's a good song anyways. From here on out, I hope to continue making music, getting better at this craft until I make music that employers would hire me for, or until I make grand music for my own works, whichever happens first. Thank you for listening, and goodbye!